I have a question for the Minister. Ministers of the previous Labor government either referred to youth crime as a media beat-up. Can the Minister please advise of any data that identifies what impact the Christopher Uli government's adult crime, adult time laws have had on crime rates in my electorate of Capalaba, the South Brisbane district and the Queensland as a whole?
Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I want to thank the member for the question, and we all know the path that led the member to be here, and I want to acknowledge the journey that you've been on, and thank you for the work that you've done since being here to advocate for your community and for victims of crime in your electorate and right across Queensland. But to your point, as crime did spiral out of control over the last 10 years, and that wasn't just the rate of crime and the number of victims, but the perception of crime and people's concerned about their safety. There was members of Parliament, senior members of the Labor government, like the former member for Capalaba, who did attribute it to a media beat-up. That's at a time when unlawful uses were up over 100% and other theft, to the member's question, had risen by 50% over the last 10 years. We know that is unacceptable, and before the election we committed to fixing the youth crime crisis, and we've gone a long way to do that. We committed to passing the Making Queensland Safer laws before Christmas, coupled with more boots on the ground. And on both of those fronts, member, today, as we have announced, we have more police, 350, double the amount that the former government were able to increase numbers by in a full term of government. But also, crime numbers are down. The number of victims right across the state are down, and which goes to show when you have more police with better resources and tougher laws and embed consequences for actions like our Making Queensland Safer laws, a harsh penalty does act as a strong deterrent. And right across Queensland, we've seen a 2% drop in all offences, a 13% drop in robberies, a 4% drop in unlawful use of a motor vehicle, and a 10% drop in unlawful entries. And I know those opposite, asking the questions today, the former government, are the only people in Queensland that are desperate for the number of victims of crime in Queensland to continue to rise, and they continue to point to made-up metrics like they did before the election when they coined the youth crime crisis. The former minister that used to sit in this position, the Labor Police Minister, attributed the youth crime crisis to kids stealing Kit Kats, and we knew, and as you knew, that that wasn't the case, and that's why we'll continue to give our police those tougher laws, because you only need to look at the contrast, and even though that is just a small step in the right direction, we're not popping the champagne, and there's certainly not mission accomplished, because we appreciate that crime is too high, not just the crime data, but the perception of crime and community safety as well. But what we did see under those opposite 10 years, as I alluded to earlier, was in 2015, and this is just data that anyone can pull from the QPS data web pages I just refreshed my memory on this morning. There was almost 10,000 unlawful use of a motor vehicle offences committed across Queensland in 2015, 9,359 to be exact. Fast forward to 24-25, and that was both of those years it was either side of 20,000. Similar with other theft. In 2015, there was almost 100,000 of those offences committed, 98,127. By 2024, after a decade of those proudly watering down the laws and failing to swear in more police, that had increased to just under 150,000. So to the point of those opposite now who are trying to cherry-pick data and talk about other theft, they were silent on that issue for 10 years as other theft and unlawful use of a motor vehicle, robbery and break and enters skyrocketed. So I just want to remind them that the victim numbers are going down. And as I said, there's a lot of work to do and we're not celebrating that fact, but as the Minister for Police and as the Christopher Uli government has set a clear mandate and a commitment to Queenslanders, we will continue to give our police everything that they need to continue to restore community safety across Queensland and reduce the number of victims. And my focus every day, and when I talk to the Commissioner on most days, and certainly every Monday morning when he briefs me about crime, is making sure that our police have everything they need to stop crime in Queensland and protect victims of crime.
I call the member for Calpalaba.
Thank you. Can the Minister detail the response for the second major event, Tropical Cyclone Alfred, which followed the flooding in the north?
Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, and I thank the member for the question, and I appreciate Like all of South East Queensland was impacted, but what your electorate was as well. And just want to update and refresh the committee's memory in relation to Tropical Cyclone Alfred, which made landfall as a Category 1 system north of Brisbane in the vicinity of the Moreton Bay Islands at approximately 1 a.m. on the 8th of March 2025. The system caused approximately 450,000 power outages, loss of telecommunications, closure of 684 schools and early childhood centres, substantial beach erosion and impacts to tourism. The QPS was proactive in alerting the community about the impending impacts of TC Alfred. And at this point, Deputy Chair, I might just like to reflect on a privilege I had. Obviously, they're highly stressful and busy times when the State Disaster Coordination Centre is stood up, but I took the opportunity to go out to North Brisbane and to South Brisbane and onto the Gold Coast, where I met firsthand some recruits, some amazing police recruits, some of them in their first week at the academy, when I want to thank the Assistant Acting Commissioner and others who had to send out an SOS to the supply store to make sure that they had some polo shirts and cargo pants and boots to come and help on the front line, but also some police that were in their final stage of their training and about to get sworn in. I also met some police from other jurisdictions and other states who are out on the front line in the weather, door knocking and warning residents across South East Queensland of the pending disaster. And I thank them personally. I got to thank them, a few of them, at the following week or maybe the subsequent week at their swearing-in ceremony. I got to thank them in front of their friends and family for that work. I want to take the opportunity to report that to the committee, the amazing work of these recruits, some of them in their first week of training and some of them towards the end of training for the work that they did. But that was part of 13,928 tasks received to mainly to assist with flooding, structural damage, trees down and resupply. 230 agency support requests received to mainly assist with door knocking, and I spoke about the recruits who mobilised to help with that door knocking, down trees and floodboat rescues. Also, 220 Queensland SES volunteers were deployed to support the response, as well as 340 interstate SES volunteers. I want to thank all the volunteers who helped out Queenslanders in their time. And just one closing story, I got to close the loop on some of those recruits in their first week who are out on the front line. I think when I was down on the Gold Coast, one of the sergeants who was driving the bus and directing the new recruits on the front line, it was his last week in the job after 40 years of service, and I got the chance to, in front of the recruits and in front of all the people down at the coordination centre on the Gold Coast, to thank him for his service. And I thought it was fitting that in the twilight of his career, after 40 years service, he got to take out a group of recruits onto the front line during an emergency situation, a severe weather event which we hadn't seen in the South East Queensland for a long time. So I want to thank him as well, and all the recruits and all the police and all the SES and even Marine Rescue Queensland. Mindful they don't have the flood boats that were deployed in northern and western Queensland and South East Queensland, but particularly in that Cyclone Alfred, Marine Rescue Queensland came to the fore. I'm more than happy if the Chief Officer gets the time to relay this story, but they were deployed to some of the islands in Moreton Bay for some young, new, about-to-be mothers and medevac them out of those islands to get them back to the shore to safely give birth, but also rescued people and were deployed on a number of different occasions. I want to thank Marine Rescue Queensland as well.
Member for Capella Bar.
Thank you. You might be aware, Minister, that I'm also a member of a surf club at Point Lookout, and our family's been involved there for the best part of 25 years. But as far as this is concerned, could you please detail the SES support grants that were recently awarded, including for Redland City Council, and if that program is still continuing, please?
Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Chair, and I thank the member for the question. And I didn't know about your history in surf lifesaving, and I thank you for that. And I don't want to think about the days you once sported the uniform of a surf lifesaver and patrolled the beach. But I do want to talk about the Christopher government.
Order,
I withdraw, Deputy Chair. The Christopher government is backing our SES volunteers with the resources that they need to protect Queenslanders during disasters. SES groups across Queensland have shared in $2 million in grants to boost disaster response capabilities since the election. In total, 32 SES groups from areas as far west as Doomadgee to the south and the Gold Coast have benefited from the SES Group Grant Initiative. Key SES initiatives nominated by local Queensland councils include $225,000 for vehicle replacements at the Atherton SES depot, $150,000 for the establishment of an SES facility in Doomadgee Aboriginal Shire Council, more than $123,000 for sandpit structures in Babinda, Edmonton, Machin's Beach, Buchan's Point, if that's how you say it, Gordon Vale and Holloway's Beach, more than $123,000 for revitalising and reinforcement of the Ingham SES building, more than $95,000 for vehicle replacements for the Yeppoon SES depot, nearly $40,000 for an ATV and trailer for the Quilpie SES depot, more than $86,000 for automatic security gate upgrades at Goodna SES depot. Our SES groups play a critical role in natural disasters, and our government is pleased to be able to boost capability ahead of the next major weather event. And further to the member opposite's question about the depot at Deception Bay, I had the privilege of attending there not that long ago, where with the local mayor of the Moreton Shire Council and the member for Redcliffe, the Moreton Bay City Council upgraded, to the member's point, with the member for Redcliffe, where we turned the sod on that amazing facility, and I look forward to visiting there with the chief officers and others to watch that unfold, and look forward to it opening its doors.